Thank you so much for staying tuned to this channel. If you just joined us, this is TMI Sunday's edition. Well, we're taking a look at Nigeria at 63. The journey thus far will start off with the president's speech and, of course, how Nigerians really look forward to analyzing, listening, being hopeful for Mr. President to come out today to really address situations. The question now is, with these situations addressed, 25,000 naira added to workers' salary to cushion, yes, the transition effect occasioned by subsidy removal. And do you think this will assuage labor from going or embarking on the strike? He said he's attuned to the suffering also occasioned by subsidy removal. The journey thus far, 6-3. These are like big figures, 6 decades plus and counting been existing as a nation. The story, our struggles, joys, pains, do you think is worth celebrating? All the way from Germany, joining us via Zoom, he's been here waiting patiently. Join me, welcome Mayor Benjamin. Welcome to TMI, Mayor. Appreciate your coming. All right.
Good morning, my dear brother, Mr. Wilson. Thank you for having me this morning.
All right. Thank you so much for being a part of this discourse. And also with me here in the studio, I have a one-time permanent secretary and, of course, a labor devotee. Once a labor devotee, always a labor devotee. He's a father in the house. For me to welcome Bashir Kadiri. Welcome, sir. Appreciate your comment this Sunday morning.
Thank you, Wilson, for having me.
All right. And of course, you get to hear about the law. This man is so down to earth. He's so humble. Though he's a member of Edo State Assembly, talking about Ovia Southwest constituency. The representative joined me to welcome Honorable Destiny in Abulele. Welcome to TMI. So on this edition.
Mr. Wilson, let me appreciate you for inviting me and congratulate Nigerians.
All right. Thank you so much for coming, sir. Okay.
I appreciate it.
Right. The one very close to me, he is a vibrant youth, a political juggernaut in his own climb because he controls some large amounts of youths. An entrepreneur. Join me to welcome Festus Ehi. Yes, for short,
Good morning, Wednesday.
Good morning, Festus.
Happy Independent Nigeria.
All right. So, Benjamin, I want you to tee off this discussion because you've been here waiting patiently. Nigeria at 63. Is it worth celebrating? What do you feel about all this? Don't forget, the federal government says the celebration of today's independence anniversary would be low-key. What do you feel about it?
Thank you once again for having me this morning. The issue at hand, I don't say that like a celebration, is what I term like 63 years of failed promises, 63 years of failed health system, 63 years of no light, 63 years of bad roads, 63 years of no water, of fraud, 63 years of youth dying in the desert trying to enter Europe. It's 63 years of nepotism, 63 years of misgovernance, 63 years of going around within the cycle, expecting a different result. It's 63 years of men destroying our future, 63 years of no job, and 63 years of insecurity. Nigerians independent of 63 years celebration is a 63 years of failed justice system, and is a 63 years of stealing our natural resources, and a 63 years of allowing the poor not to breathe. So, if the federal government decide to say they are doing it on a low key, coming out to even make a statement, I find it very, very insulting to the Nigerian people. What we're celebrating today as a country, or what that's supposed to be a celebration for us, is gradually becoming something that people, I can tell me that we are in the solemn and we are mourning. Our Nigerian currency today is fast to nothing. A man is coming out to tell you there will be 25,000 to 25 million Nigerians as from October. Mr. Wilson, I put it across to you this morning. despite being a journalist, what can you buy with 25,000 naira when you go to any Owegbeni market? That is a question for you. A country where we have a valueless and a useless currency that is not
okay, hold on now. I know you're emotional about this. You are going off the chart.
I retract my word.
Please
I
retract
my word.
Thank you.
I retract my word.
Thank you.
I retract my word and sorry for that.
Right.
The currency is being managed by people who are non-competent enough to manage the Nigerian economy. For example, like what I said from the beginning, or like what I said in the other last time when we have our little conversation. When you give a position to people who are not capable, who are less competent, the result of which we are seeing today is not far from what they will deliver. You cannot offer what you don't have. You cannot give what you don't have.
Okay.
There is nothing to celebrate in Nigeria.
Okay. I will come back to you.
There is insecurity in the land. There is hunger.
All right.
And I expect the government to come forward to put up a policy to address some of the issues that need to be addressed.
Okay, you just hold on, Mayor. Hold on, Mayor. All right, Mayor, thank you so much for sharing your views and your opinions. Just hold on, but I'd like to tell you to please watch your emotions, okay? Let's get to hear from other panelists in the studio. Sir, Kadiri, you heard him. He spoke seriously because of the way he's feeling it. Though he's in Germany right now, he's always been in Nigeria. You know, he just traveled out to Germany, but for what he saw, from what he's feeling, from what he felt, he spoke from the abundance of the heart. So please, but Mayor, please watch your emotions. I'll come back to you shortly. What do you have to say? You heard his own side of the story. He said there is little or nothing to celebrate.
Well, Wilson, I think I'm a bit at variance. You see, as a country, I'm an optimist. I have no other country other than Nigeria. The day I lost my hope in Nigeria, that day, I'm gone. I'm not sure any Nigerian will want to be grateful to have a lost country. I'm not sure so. No matter how emotional we are, we must be able to think of how do we come out of the box. If we agree that things are not going well, what do we do next? When we keep amplifying and lamenting, this country cannot go anywhere. Nobody will enjoy lamentation. At any given time in history, lamentation have never given results. I give you few historical references on other countries. Singapore didn't go on lamentation. They came out and faced their problem challenges and they got the result. Today, Singapore is a class that you would like to go to, and when you go there, you enjoy seeing the ambience and governance. The same thing happened to other great countries. No country in the world ever had it from the beginning. I'm not giving excuses, but I'm only saying that Nigerians should be more careful not to carry away by the fantasy of the moment and lost the track of getting a direction for a country. Our country needs a direction, not lamentation. Our country needs ideas, not lamentation. We need people who are classical, who are strong, who are courageous to face challenges. Challenges are the reason why countries grow. If you don't overcome your challenge, you cannot grow. Even your own private life. If you don't overcome a challenge, what makes you a success story? And you overcome challenges. If you are a professor, you went through challenges as a scholar. If you are a businessman, you went through challenges as a business and, of course, economic circumstances. So, for me, I am particularly thinking that Nigerians should sit back now and let us ruminate and do a complete introspection in our individual life, individual activity, the followership concept. What are we doing as followers? What role have we played in this whole drama we are talking about now? Who has been the reason for the trouble? And I tell you, Wilson, we cannot give that blame only to one side. Even the followers have their role to play. A man become a governor is under pressure by everybody in the village. He will not sleep well in his house. It has become a center of pressure. And everybody wants him to bring money. From where? Wilson, like I said, I'm not giving excuses, but we must be realistic with ourselves. Each time we're talking about Nigeria, people talk about Nigeria with disdain. For God's sake, I want to ask the question, where is your country, if not Nigeria? If you destroy your country with your mouth and tell people that Nigeria is unworthy of investment, who will come to your country? When you run your country down, deliberately in your consciousness, how do you bring the country back to life? When you go out of this Nigeria and go to other countries, and you ask you where are you from? Can you say you're from another country? No, you say I'm a Nigerian. And when you say so, what the things you said yesterday will become the CV that they are analyzing with you. People see you with some disrespect because people talk about your country with disdain. My brother, many countries have their own history. I'm not giving excuses for anybody, but I'm only saying that our collective make a difference. We must stop this concept of being a failure, being lamenting, condemning, running down your country. Please, let's talk about how do we move the country forward. What ideas are we having in our mind to drive Nigeria? At this time of independence, it's time for us to re-examine our country. All of us, whether followers or leadership. Whether rightly or wrong, we should look at what have we done wrongly. Where are we now? Why are we here? Where are we going in the future? What are the pitfalls that we had in the past? How do we overcome the pitfalls now for a better future? Every country has its own challenge, and the challenge makes us great to overcome them. And I know Nigeria, by the grace of God, will overcome the challenges.
All right. I will come back to you, sir. I will come back to you, sir, saying, oh, no matter what is happening, we should be optimistic. I'll definitely come back to you. Well, Honorable, you're a member of the House, the State House of Assembly. I believe that your constituents are really watching, the world is watching, they really want to hear your own side of the story. Nigeria at 63. We've heard from Mayor, from his own angle, and of course from our daddy here, his own perspective. You as a member of the House, what do you have to say?
Well, Mr. Wilson, let me very sincerely appreciate you and ITV for this wonderful opportunity. And let me use the opportunity to wish my constituency Happy Independence Day. Just as my senior has rightly said, you see, we must be very, very careful with choice of words. Like for me, I don't think I have any other country. And I don't think a day will come that I will say, let me leave this country and go and settle for any other country. So for me, I'm very careful. You know, our problem, we want key points. You know what is key point? Those days when we were preparing for SSC, I know my friend here will understand perfectly what in the university we refer to our handouts. We want handout solutions without going to the nitty-gritty of why we are here. Our todays are a result of yesterday. In this country, a president once said that we had too much money, we don't know how to spend it. Once at a time, we had exodus of movement from the rural to the city centers, looking for white-collar job. We abandoned our agriculture, our mystery at a particular point in time. We fail to realize that our yesterday will determine how our tomorrow will be. I'm a student of history, both in character and in learning. In all my being is history. So for us, just as my senior rightly said, there has never been any country in the world. Go back to Rwanda here, Rwanda in Africa. Go there and see what they've done. Rwanda 1994 to be very precise. The Tutsis and the Hutus, what Rwanda genocide. At the point in the scale of HIV/AIDS, they were top the ladder. But today, Rwanda is a reference point for even some developed nations in Europe and in America. In Asia, is the 9th safest place to live in the world. They have done everything to the betterment of the people, and the people has a larger role to play, not just those in the aim of affairs. Just as what he rightly said, if a man wins an election, it becomes the synonym. That become the synonym of bring. When I use the word bring, you know what I mean? Where you want him to get the money from. See, our people, we don't want to make sacrifice for ourselves. I'm sorry I'm using these words. Until you must lay a foundation that every other person that is around you will want to support you. It is when they don't look at the foundation that you lay for yourself, that's okay, let me assist this person. If you fail and you want everybody to carry everything, hook, like, and sinker, it will be very difficult as a nation. We must go back to the drawing board. We must put up our thinking cap. How can we get out of this quagmire? Politically, economically, socially, and otherwise. The followers, I'm sorry, he was a civil servant. The bulk of our problems rise squarely in the doorstep of the civil servant. If you say in terms of percentage, over 80% of our civil servants has one or two questions to answer. You saw what happened in the Ministry of Federal Ministry of Works. They locked out a minister. Look at the language. I'm sorry, the leadership of the way he spoke to a former governor. That this is not a state, or this is not your state. It's derogatory. When at 9:30, and you still have the guns. I expect Nigerians by now to go all out, to condemn that act. And here we are, because they believe that. See, those that are facing the problem, that are more marginalized, I'm sorry to say, are those in the Home of Affairs. They are oppressed. They can't talk. I'm sorry to say. From what I saw, I was in my room, I sat down, I bent down, I stood up, I tried to, how do we get here? How? You're late to work, and you still have the courts. The man who's supposed to be the head of that department came before time. And you that's supposed to be his subordinate to work with, you're telling the, no. You see, I'm afraid, permit me to borrow the words of Plato. He once said that if a child is afraid of the dark, it's understandable. But if men are scared of daylight, it is more catastrophic.
All right.
I'm afraid. I said it all. I'm afraid. I'm afraid as a student and as a living being, and by the grace of God as a lawmaker. I was once at the local government. You see, we must re-engineer. There is need for reorientation.
All right.
You see,
right.
I use the word, I mentioned the country just now. The citizens of that country,
Rwanda,
behave themselves very well.
All right. All right.
You see, and every leader, if you're an M of affairs, you must have one or two persons that you groom, whether as a legislator, whether as a head of a district, or whatever situation you find yourself.
I'll come back to you. Honorable. Well, Festus, you've had three speakers, their views and of course their opinion. One is like apprehensive about what is happening in the country for someone to lock out a minister. Though the person is like, he came late. He's still claiming rights. It's not your state, quite derogatory. We'll talk about that some other time, but it happened in this country. Eki, over to you. Nigeria at 63.
Let me start by appreciating my leader and father from the history here. He just said a lot of things, and is something that we must scale into. Nigeria is our country, and I don't think there is any other country we're going to call our home. A lot of us Nigerians who made the mistake of trying to see the president as being bad every day, the governor is bad, the local government chairman is bad. Yeah, some are actually bad. But if you check the psychology of a typical Nigerian, we have lost something. And that's the premium problem we have in this country. Value and ethics. This is a country where people don't actually believe as a Nigerian you have value for something. There is a work I'm doing, and I said the psychology of a typical Nigerian man. And if you check that book, I begin to give analysis of where the problems are coming from. Permit me to be very, very plain here. The number one problem that has sink our value system in this country comes from the clergymen, the traditional home. So if I'm using the word clergy, I'm talking about the Afar, the Imam, the pastor, the traditional herbalist, every man in charge of training people. I am a member of either one of these places. So the president comes from a mosque. The vice president is from a mosque. The governor of this state is from a church. Now, a church, those days have to train you to have value. You value life. You understand that bribing is a problem. You begin to see that whenever someone wants to bribe you, you say no. But what do we see today in Nigeria? These clergies are the number one problem because they don't train their audience to have that value.
But not all of them.
I am using the word in general, but that doesn't mean it's all.
Okay.
So why we begin to attribute Nigeria problem to politicians? All politicians are either from a mosque, a church, or a traditional worship center. Now, if I as a child have been trained by a church to know that when I'm seated in my office, you can't bribe me, nobody bribe me. Now I am a lawyer, and I'm in charge of a tribunal case. You come to bribe me, I'll tell you no, I don't collect bribe. Because I have been trained from my place of worship, where my parents also belong. So if you check this analysis, we will now shift a little bit from this same clergymen to our fathers in the house, our parents. We are in a country where a child of 21 will come and tell his mom, I want to buy a car. His mom will say, no, use my name to buy it so that the police will not owe you.
Corruption.
So when we are checking this whole thing, there is this mentality we are having in Nigeria that if this person with this mentality becomes your governor, you're in problem. If this same person becomes your president, you're in problem. So why he was talking about reorientation, it is one of the things that we are not doing. I've said it time we have number in this station. We have National Orientation Agency. There is no working. When I was growing up as a child, Independent Day, we must go to the stadium or to the local government center to pay respect to this country, either in the mass pass or wherever. But these things are no longer happening in Nigeria.
Okay. All right, I will come back to you. Now let's join Benjamin Mayer all the way from Germany. He joined a discussion via Zoom. Benjamin, I know you are still there. You've heard these three men. They spoke their mind also about Nigeria at 63. It's like in some ways you have similar thoughts. Why in some other ways, when your presentation was so hard, so to speak, it didn't go down too well with some of them here in the studio. Many Nigerians listening to you. But from their own analysis, you think that our problem is psychological, or is it a leadership followership problem? One of my discussants talked about religious body, traditional institution, the church, and of course the mosque. What do you have to say about this?
First of all, I'm restraining my ear to hear other speakers on the studio.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about that. I will not be able to respond to what they say. And I want to make this clarification again. I use the word, I don't want to use the word again like in terms of Naira, what I used to describe the Naira. Yeah. Like I said before, I retracted that word because it was not supposed to be using such an avenue. Okay. But that is the truth. That's how Nigerian feels. And that is how the Nigerian currency is at the moment. If any of the persons or any of the speakers at the studio are actually making reference of what is currently going on in the country concerning the religious and the bigotries and all that, I can't differ myself away from that. But I also want to let us know that this morning I was trying to put out a tweet that has to do with our women Nigerians, to say that our independence is not just all about we having the liberty from our colonial master. It also had to do with us knowing the identities of our leaders, how they were giving birth, where they were giving birth, the school they attended, and who they are. All this has to do with independence. What about the corruption that is currently ravaging the entire country in every system, in every institution, and the ethnic bigotry that is being channeled to a particular region or tribe? All this thing has to do with what have we achieved in the last 3 years. Can you imagine a country that is celebrating 63 years is still telling you, you see some people, some keynote leaders, some political leaders, they are still using the word ethnic bigotry. And instead of them unifying the country, instead of them putting the country into a place where we can unite, where we can be united, so that we can and develop the country. So do not forget, when you live in a house where you have multicultural people in that same building, and one is telling you that he is more superior than the others, you fighting and misunderstanding cannot be rolled out from that house. That is what Nigerian is. So until we come together to preach that value that Nigerians have before 1960, before the Civil War, Nigeria will not move forward. We will keep rolling. It's like a topsy-turvy. It's like a football. You keep turning it around. What you see is different color, but it's still the same thing. So we have to take ethnic bigotry out of it. Let those who are competent, let those who are capable, let those whose identities are verified, let those who are free from corruption take the helm of affair of Nigeria. Let them develop Nigeria. Like I always say, my principal, Peter Obi, he will tell you, if you want to be an excellency, the way and manner and the process that you want to become an excellency must be excellent. Otherwise, you do not have right to be addressed as an excellent. So if we are able to put all those things in place, whether young, whether youth, whether old, but if that person is clean,
All right.
if that person is totally clean from corruption, we'll be able to move Nigeria forward.
Okay.
I want to round up with this. Mention one of those elected or appointed leader of the government of today who does not have one or issues with the Economic and Financial Crime Commission or with the DSX. So until we eradicate those leaders, until we ask to vote them out, although we voted them out, they came into power with force, Nigeria will not move forward. There is nothing to celebrate. We do not have an independence. We only have an independence from England, but we do not have independence from our criminal political leaders' structures which they put in place since 1999.
Okay.
Until we know this, we will not move forward.
All right.
Thank you and God bless you.
I will come back to you.
Listen, let me quickly respond let me quickly respond. I'm sorry.
Okay, you want to respond?
On some of the issue he raised. You see, I think we've gone past the era of trying to bring our sentiments to becloud our sense of reasoning.
Okay.
Here, it's time we begin to reason. Rather, we allow our political inclination to now be the drive of our thinking. I'm of the PDP extraction. He's of the APC extraction. The point here, you know, I told you the last time we met here.
Yeah.
I said the way and manner our president, you know, decree permits me in a democratic setting that subsidy is gone. I said it's not tenable.
Okay.
But you agree with me today as we speak very just now. The subsidy removal is resurfacing.
It's back.
It's resurfacing. That's the problem. You see, he has raised I'm in tune with him, but there's another area. We must go back to the drawing board. Some of us saw it coming, that indeed naira to dollar is going to be, according to one of our senators, naira at a time will be referred to as a Zimbabwe dollar. Naira today to a dollar is about over 1,000 naira, if I'm not mistaken. That will tell you how far our naira has nosedived. Because over time, we have abandoned our mistake. He's talking. What do we do for exchange? What do we manufacture? What do we manufacture? So some of us saw it coming.
All right. So you are in tune with what he's saying.
Yeah, but the way and manner he presented it. Okay. That's not. I'm not comfortable.
Okay, you're not comfortable with this presentation.
I'm coming, sir. Right. When my governor in May 2021, to be very precise, he said that the way Nigerian government, the way we are going, the CBN, to be very precise, printing naira, that in the near future, not too long,
we'll have issues.
That we'll have issue with the naira to dollar. That very soon it will be 1,000 to a dollar. Today, then some of us, with due respect to my APC brothers, they said he must bring his head, let them cut it. But today, where are we? Has it not come to pass? He saw it. That's just some of us that study history saw it coming. Until we go back to drawing board, we must go back to our mainstay. We must diversify. We must take from the oil and diversify the agriculture.
Okay.
Before the advent of discovery of oil, we had a mainstay. Beautiful nation, beautiful country. The Granite Pyramid, the whatever, the cocoa house and whatever. But today, there's nothing to show for it.
All right. All right. Now, Benjamin, he said he's in tune with you, but the presentation is what is bothering him. And he said your political inclination also is high time we stop talking via sentiment. We have to say it the way it is. But presentation is what he has issue with. Do you agree with what you said? Okay. Now, let me come to you, sir.
Yes, please. Let me. I know he's a young man talking with us on via Zoom.
Yeah.
And so he may not have understood the practicality of history the way we understood it. I mean, I was a young man, a small boy growing in the 60s. And I had my secondary school in the early 70s. So I am not as strange in history like he is strange to history as far back at that time. I can tell you for free that we had a time when Nigerian currency was 65 kobo to a dollar.
Yeah.
You hear that?
65 kobo to a dollar.
65 kobo to a dollar. Way back.
Now, I will tell you, Mr. Wilson, that my first flight, Benin return ticket, was 71 naira.
Whoa.
Benin Lagos, 71 naira. I'm not saying 700. I'm not saying 7,000. No, I said 71.
71.
71 naira. return ticket.
You hear that?
Benin, Lagos, return ticket. Wilson, I also tell you the truth that I bought, then I used to buy shirts, high-flying shirts, Copperfield. If you know Copperfield history, Copperfield shirts, 250 kobo, with a high collar. Wilson, we had a good time.
So what is happening now?
Hold on, Wilson, because me, I did history at advanced level. I had a very classical background in history, so I can tell you for free. It's good that we refer back our history before we start talking about what is happening now, so that we can put the things in proper perspective.
Exactly.
Some of the time we make the mistake in running our stories from the blues, without having a foundation to anchor. You see, you don't build history on emotions
At all.
History is the most practical and most standard position. Whether you like it or not, the history is a history. Whether we say I don't like you or I like you, it does not change the story that you are Wilson or Marshall. If I don't like you, it does not change your name. If I like it, does not change your name. If your activities in the past were done badly, Wilson cannot change now. What can only change now is that you now learn and say, let me correct my error of yesterday. But not that the story of yesterday has changed. And this is fundamental thing we must take into consideration. That's why today I said here, when we keep lamenting, we can't go anywhere. The future is more bleak than even today. We should stop lamentation. Every young man is lamenting everywhere. And for God's sake, the young man in question, they will blame the older ones, they will blame this one, they will blame this one. And ask the question, what new thing has the younger ones brought on board that has changed the story? And that's the question we're going to be asking ourselves. The story of Yahoo one, it has gone international. And everywhere you go, every young man wants to get money in 2 days. 19 years old boy wants to fly a car of 16 million. And when he flies the car, people clap for him and raise him. And it's a class. Hey God, look, Wilson, when we were growing, if you come back home with a biro from your school that was not bought for you by your parents, God help you, you won't enter the house. When you come in, you have a good beat. Wilson, I had an experience when I was, as a young boy, I went to school. 2 boys were fighting. I went to very early in the morning. Not now when students go to school even at will. They go to school at will. 9 o'clock, they're still on the road going to school. And when you flog them to parents, say, why are you flogging my child? Who are you? Now listen to this, Wilson. I went to school in the morning. When I got to school in the morning at about 7 o'clock, because it must be an assembly 8 on the dot. So by 7 you should be on your way to school. That day I was in school early. By 7 o'clock I was in school. 2 young boys came and were fighting in school. And I went to separate them. Do you know what I saw? The first thing I saw was a guy hit my head. I wasn't the one fighting. I just said stop fighting. Next thing was my head on the blow. And when I got to my father said, who asked you to go and separate fight? Are you now a referee? Did you call the fight? So what were you doing within the in between? That was my first experience. My second experience in Kaduna, as a pupil too. I went to school in Kaduna. I was in LA Primary School, Kaduna, and Gwarimi, Kaduna. And then I came out from school. We were close. We were just coming back home. 2 boys again were having trouble in the road. And as they were quarreling, I said, stop fighting. You can't understand. You can't be fighting each other now. As we were going, we left. So those 2 boys still fought. And when they asked them what was the problem, when they were reporting their story, what happened, they said, I separated them for the first fight. And again, that brought me to trouble. So the point I'm making is this: we must begin to re-engineer our minds. I want to beg the young men: you have a future, you have a country in your hand. This country is one of the greatest countries in Africa and in the world. We 200-something million people. People are waiting for you to wake up, and they will be here. Everybody wants to invest in Nigeria, but they are waiting for a few things to be done. And what is capacity? Population. We have a population that is superbly strong for economic development.
All right.
For agricultural development.
Okay.
We have the capacity. But so the point I want to make here is that this story of Party A, Party B, Party C. You see, we must draw a line between governance and politics.
I'll come back to you, sir. Draw a line between governance and politics. Honorable, just hold on. I want Eki to say something because he dropped the gun, sir. I have to balance. It's all about balance. So you heard him. He said there should be a line between governance and politics. So take it up from there. Is that our issue right now? Nigeria at 63 rather.
Permit me to use the word father for him because he's a father from his talk. And if you check what he has been saying before he came to that line that there should be a line between governance and politics, I guess Father has been telling us what I think I know. Reorientation of our thinking system. That's why I could use the word those clergy are the foundation, because a lot of Nigerians believe on their place of worship. That's why you go to the north and a imam will tell them do this, they'll do that, they'll do it. They won't change it. That's why a pastor could tell a young girl to do this, and the girl will say, okay, I'm going to do it, as long as the pastor has said it. Now, these people are paramount in this reorientation. I'm not going to be so much going down to the government today. I know government have a huge role to play. But you see, we parents in the house, we have a lot of role to also play. If we are having problem in the Nigeria system today, it's because parents on their own have failed a lot. I just make an example, and Father just re-echo it. How will a child of 19 have a car of 16 million?
16 million is too cheap.
60 million.
It's cheap.
Some go 15 million even.
Father, let me shock you.
Be conservative.
My PhD seminar is on cybercrime, and if I give you some revelation, you'll be shocked. So we are in a country that while the government is failing, collectively, parents at home, they are failing. Religious leaders, they are all failing. So if we must sit tomorrow and say this is Nigeria of our own, we all must come together and think as one. Tomorrow, I'm going to be the president, I'm going to be the governor. Like I said before, I belong to a place of worship. So if they've given me that fear, if they've installed in me that value system of not cheating, if I'm giving out a budget of 5 trillion, I'll make sure that all of my ministers answer to a naira from that budget. But what are we seeing today? We see in Nigeria where the president will call you and say, you are the minister in charge of humanitarian affairs, whatever. Okay, 25,000 naira to how many million people now? Go and share. At the end of the day, one woman will collect for 10 person. What belongs to a community will be given to just an individual. And this individual will tell you, no problem now, I will share them. At the end, the individual will share nothing. I was going through a page and I found out that during the past administration, the Buhari administration, there was a lot of loan to the tune of over $1 trillion that was given to farmers. You know what happened? Most of those loans did not get to the major farmers. But one man will come and tell you, I am their leader. Give me the money. They will not give the money to the leader by virtue of who no man. This same man will keep the money to himself. They will even go to the street and call you out, Mr. Nabulele, go and take picture with that coconut tree. Go to the cassava farm, go and take picture. The same Nabulele that is not a farmer, that wants the money he did not work for, will go and take the same picture.
So that's widespread corruption.
So while we are talking about re-engineering our thinking process, if they come and meet him, we tell them, no, I'm not a farmer. How will I take a picture and stand like a farmer to go and collect farmers' money? But no Nigerian man at the moment, out of 100, I guess 98 will go and collect the money. Only 2 will say, no, I'm not the farmer now. What I want to use the money to do. So even if the government is trying its best, is trying our best to see that we, the citizens, are happy, those around the government, those that are working with the government, if their mind, their orientation is perverted, if they are corrupt, we're not going to have anything from this whole process. He just said something, how a worker came to work after
9:30.
9:30, and you are telling the honorable minister that this one is not your state. In a normal situation, in a normal society, you are supposed to resume work by 7:45, not 8. 7:45, you should be at your working place. Then you resume your normal duty by 8. But you came 9:30 and you are saying nobody should query you. So it is not about the government today. Let's come as Nigerian. Okay, we say let's go back to the market. A woman will buy a bag of rice for 60 naira and they will increase fuel. The one she has in her shop will be increased immediately. We saw what happened when the president said
subsidy is gone. So it's all about Nigerians.
Immediately, the pump price
went up. Okay.
Listen, let me say something.
Benjamin is waiting.
No, just if you raise another issue.
Yes.
You see, I used the word earlier.
Yes.
The issue of key points. You understand perfectly. Key point in the university as handout. I remember those days when we were preparing for SSC, and there was a subject that very difficult. I was a science student before I found myself studying history.
Yes.
This physics. I said, I laid my hand on that key point. Okay, when I entered the hall, as God will have it. Let me use the word as God will have it. What I wrote was very shallow, without in-depth. I came out with F9 parallel in that subject. That's what made me to rewrite. I wrote SSC again the second time because of, and I found myself, doing government, history and other
science.
So what am I trying to say? Again, the federal government, they are here again with another handout without addressing the substance, the issue of 25,000 naira.
We'll come to We'll come to that. Hold on, we'll come to that. It's in the purview of what we'll discuss briefly. We'll talk about Edo 2024. Okay, what Benjamin? I know that it's very difficult to hear what they are all saying, but in summary, let's say all of you have the same point of view, but it is that your approach was like so hard. That's what I'm saying right now. That you're making a wonderful point. All right, but your approach is what they're not really comfortable with. Is normal, your own opinion, your own approach. Okay, we are looking for it to make Nigeria better. Now, since we are in this situation, the naira has been devalued so much that it might just turn to 1,000 naira per dollar if we are not careful in handling this. They agree to that. Yes, and of course, widespread corruption in the country. It is true. President Buhari came on board, he tried fighting it, corruption fought back. We all know this story. Right now we have another man, President Tinubu, at the helm of affairs. He said he's going to fight corruption. Unemployment, insecurity, you just name it, the problems are enormous. How do you think we should, or we can get out of this predicament, at least to make us happy as Nigerians? Benjamin.
Mr. Wilson, listen, everybody in the studio, I want you guys to look at me in this type of, from this angle. I don't want you to like me because I'm saying the truth. The way I'm mannered, I'm coming forward.
They agree that you're saying the truth, but it's like your approach is true. What we're talking about.
No. Yeah. Mr. Wilson, come on, hold on. We can't be doing the same thing the same way and expect a different result. The people who are sitting down at the studio right now, you know what I'm talking about, because they are there, because they belong to one party who is in power and all that. They don't want to touch some areas or talk to the people the way they're supposed to be talked to. Do you understand? I am telling you the truth. The way I'm coming forward or the way I'm attacking the situation or the way I'm presenting it, it doesn't matter. What matters is that we have to do things in a different way for us to get to where we're going to. That era of we saying we don't need to offend anybody, I can offend my father for me to get the things done, because the life of Nigerians does not just depend on my father's decision alone. My father cannot just make a decision and say, okay, that is good for the community and that is the end of it. We have to make decisions the way it's supposed to be that will benefit the entire Nigerians. We shouldn't say because the way I'm saying it, because I mentioned some person, because I heard one particular verse of that speaker that spoke after me that said, the governance should not just be on political, be directed to one particular side and all that. But that is the truth. So for us, let's come back to the discussion again. For us to end what we're passing through, this pandemic that we're passing through, this corruption pandemic that has eaten deep into us, that has become a norm in society, that even a child want to get an admission, no matter how brilliant you are, you need to know somebody that knows Mr. No Man. It doesn't supposed to be like that. So when you look at me that I'm angry because that is the truth. So you don't need to tell me because somebody don't want to be offended or the way I'm presenting it. If you and I does not repair what our forefathers did, where they brought us into and where we are today, the situation will be more worse and irreplaceable and irreparable for our children and our born children. So it is better for you to be emphatically about it. It's better for you to be angry inside and outside for you to address that situation. When I say somebody want to be a governor, somebody want to be a president, somebody want to be a House of Representatives going to parliament, we have to know who you are. We have to know your identity. We have to know the school you went to. We have to know who are your friends, who are your peers. What have you done? Knowing that you have been in prison for 5 years, 6 years for corruption charges, you are becoming a minister, or it's not that you have made a derogatory statement against a particular region or a religion persons, and you want to become a minister to rule the people. That is totally absurd. That is what I am against. So when you want to curb corruption, you want to end nepotism, you want to end corruption in Nigeria, the first thing you do most is to employ and appoint credible human beings that are capable, that are competent, that their footsteps, that their track record can be traced back to where they are coming from. Not just by, I know Mr. A, I know Mr. Peter Obi, somebody know Mr. Tinubu, and all that you get an appointment. Look at all the ministers that was appointed today. Look at the ministers. Somebody even in the Niger Delta have to threaten a whole government, bringing out a rifle, AK-47 rifle on social media to tell Nigerians that he is ready to do this. He is not a uniform personnel. Even a uniform personnel does not even allow to carry a service AK-47 home for him to be winding it on social media. That person is still working free today. Until you begin to end this, if my father is wrong, get him arrested. If my brother is wrong, he committed an offense, get him arrested. We have to treat ourselves fairly.
Thank you.
That is how people can move Nigerian forward.
Thank you.
I believe in everything you guys are saying. I want to round up with this, Mr. Wilson. Everybody in the studio, I want you to go back home. How do you see this nation in the next 5 to 6 years? If we do not repair it now, it's like a moving vehicle that does not have a brake. You keep driving, you are climbing hill. You can still climb because you have that momentum of driving. But when you are descending, you don't have a brake. Do you know the effect that will cause? That is how Nigeria is going to. That is the way Nigeria is going to. You have to be angry. You have to find a solution of ending it by saying the truth, by addressing the situation in a hard manner for us to have a country that we can call Nigeria. We cannot keep running away and jackpacking out of the country. Today is October 1st. Do you know how many people are living in Nigeria? Go and check the airport in Nigeria. They are filled up with Nigerian youth. They are jackpacking. That's what your people call the brain trains. The good ones are running away. Thank you.
All right, Benjamin, I will come back to you.
Let me quickly say this. You see, it is in Nigeria that what is wrong or right is a definition of convenience. Depends on who is interpreting it per time. I said in Nigeria, which is quite sad. Let me say this again. Any society that recompenses the fetid deportment fabricate a moral pori that will guzzle that society. And that's where we are today.
So how do we get out of this situation?
He has said so many things. Even the so-called mentor, when he was a governor, how many times did he conduct a local government election? Let's start from there. He spent 8 years. See, we don't want to go to the nitty-gritty. When we are here, I don't want to go to all that. When we are here, how can we see, for me, I don't have any country. Other than Nigeria. The first time I traveled out was 2017 before I became a local government chairman. I said, went there for an academic and I came back home. The point we are saying now, how can we repair this decadence that is staring us in the face? There's a lacuna that we must fill. We must. My blood is boiling. He can't be sitting down in his comfort zone and come here and be there. You see, we have seen the lights. They come from abroad at the end of the day. Well, in a simple queue, they jump the queue. I've seen some of them. When they come, they surround themselves with security. For me, I don't move around with security. When I was a local government chairman, now I'm in the House of Assembly. We must set the example. Every society, determine the kind of leadership they want. Because the leadership is emanated from the society. That's the point we are driving at. He said something. Karl Marx once said that religion is an opium of the people. For us to get it right, we must go back to the drawing board. Our traditional lands, our fathers, our church, and the imam, the mosque, and whatever, they must preach the right thing. You see, the religious body reminds me of an article I read some time ago, that when the Europeans came, they came with Christianity. They said, let us pray. We close our eyes. Before we open our eyes, they've taken our resources. That's where we find ourselves now. But it's not as if I'm here, my kids are here, my wife is here. So we must do the needful so that we have a better tomorrow for my children. My children are born.
Thank you so much, Honorable. Well, sir, you've had both youths exhibiting the youthful exuberance in this particular situation because nobody's really happy about this. Benjamin is not happy. Honorable is not happy. You are not happy. Eki is not happy. Is Wilson really happy?
I'm happy.
I'm not happy. But all this same, how do we get out of this, sir?
Yeah, my dear, let me start by saying that I'm happy that I have a role to play
Yes.
in Nigerian history. I'm very happy. And I'm also happy and proud to be a Nigerian.
Very, very.
24/7.
Yes.
I'm happy. I've went to several countries in my career. And I must tell you that no other country like my country. You may not like what I'm saying, but that is the truth. The practical story is that, Wilson, I don't leave my house with my passport in my pocket. Fear that I will be stopped on the road to ask me, who are you? Freedom is not something you buy.
At all.
One of the classicals is that we have a freedom we don't even appreciate. When my young people travel overseas, I'm not sure when they are there. Some of them don't come back home because there's a shame. How will I go back when I went overseas to go look for money and I don't have money? My people will say, some are beggars in the streets of those countries.
Charity.
Some of them are just everywhere looking for what is dropped. Some go to collect, God forgive me, some go to collect a drop of food just because they are hungry, they cannot eat. I met some of them some time ago when I traveled in 2010. And what did they, I asked, I said, why are you guys begging here? They were begging, they are Nigerians, they were begging. In an African food shop. I've not eaten since yesterday, please help me. You know, I felt pain. These are young men who travel and said, I'm overseas. And everybody says he's gone overseas. It's not magical overseas. It's not a magical country. They have a highly disciplined structure. The citizens there are disciplined. And everybody is working within the confines of the rules. And that's why the country is moving the way it's going. In those countries, they pay tax. How many people do pay tax in Nigeria? And this is the truth. And in those countries, they have respect for each other. There are moral definitions. There are rules that are outstanding.
Yes.
And people walk by the rules. In Nigeria, a young man carries a car and run over the traffic lights. And he says, and that makes him a superstar. You go out and kill somebody, that makes you a superstar. You say it with all disdain, you don't care. And now tomorrow you want to be respected? How? Anarchy has no definition. It does not have respect for anybody. What we should avoid first and foremost in Nigeria is anarchy. Because nobody survived anarchy.
All right, sir.
And the second I want to say, Wilson, is that I've heard the young men talk. Well, I hope that their talk is genuine to their hearts. That they're not talking because of what they want to say about them, not run matters or film show, but the reality. Because let me tell you the truth. Today, Nigeria is where we are now because there's a multi-dimensional issues.
Yeah.
Some of them mentioned, like the young man mentioned, the issue of religion problem, the issue of social, what they call disalignment, the issue of psychological distortion, because I call it psychic distortion, where the odds are now the rules. A society where people believe that if you do the crime, you're a superstar.
Yes.
If you don't do crime, you are a lazy man and a failure. And I'll tell you this, there was a young man, a small boy that was being interviewed, small boy, maybe about 5'8", of 6, 7 years old. And they asked him, who do you want to be like? And he mentioned a name of a street boy as his mentor, Jack. Now, that is the second problem. The third one is that the family unit has collapsed.
The family units.
Family units has
you
collapsed.
said that, yeah.
And that family unit must come back.
All right.
Because it's where we build our moral standards. Look, if you don't have moral standard, you cannot have a society of peace. Now, that home is where leaders come from.
All right.
If the leaders came from homes that are outstanding, they cannot have the kind of mind to do what they are doing. Jack, you know that your parent will ask you questions. And that when you sit back, the parent will tell you, am I your parent? Am I your parent? You are doing this to insult me? And they will be troubled. Those days, my brother, if you come home, like I said today, with a biro from school that was not bought for you by your parents, God help you, you will get a good beating. Right. Now, today, young men drives big cars to homes. If the home are not collapsed, how would a mother explain the son that have no job? The son went and bought her a car of about 10 million and give to her as a gift, and the mother sit back and sit there in the car and say, my son is this, my son is a big man now. Big man what? At 19. How will a father explain to me that his own son gets a house of how many million and bought him a new car, and he sits there in the car and is proud? Look, there was a case of a young man who bought a car, but the father told him, don't take this car back to where you bought the car from. God knows what I will do to you. I will curse you, and when I curse you, it will get to you. Leave my house. Leave this. I don't want to see you.
All right.
And the boy knew what heat that put on his head. So I want to appeal to all parents who are watching this TV. Look, they have a role to play.
All right.
Let's stop pointing fingers.
Thank you.
Let us begin to do our own research. At home.
Thank you.
Our children.
Thank you so much.
The future of this country will be stronger if we have a home, if we have homes that are morally governed.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. And that is your last line on the discussion. Nigeria at 63. Eke, I know you're supposed to, but let Eke have his own turn. Your last line, please.
Fellow Nigerians, I must say it's not going to get better if we don't put our house in order. And if we must put our house in order, ethics and value, a value system, we must work on it. I so much have the belief that if I have a child that I brought up under a good guidance, that fears and respect God, that understand what humanity stands, and that child becomes your governor tomorrow, he's going to give you whatever you want. So whoever becomes the president, the governor, commissioner, ministers, the person is a product of the family and the religion. So let us wake up.
All right.
Churches shouldn't be after the money. Someone once said that these days what we see in Nigeria are big church buildings, but the humans inside are not big at heart. Most of them, they are just like the empty drum, no charity. When you hit them, they laugh. But they don't give to society what they ought to give them. Pastors will come and tell you, sow seed, do this, do that. But no pastor will tell you, when you take what is not yours, the Lord will not be happy with you. The pastor will tell you, bring your tithe and offering so that we have food here. But that same pastor will fail to tell you, if you are a governor and you refuse to bring development to your people, is a crime. But when the governor is seated at the church, the pastor will begin to praise the governor. The commissioner is there. The minister is there. The House of Assembly members, all the politicians are all there. Pastors, imam and afar, they will praise you. You know why they are praising you? They are not after the work of God. They are after their pocket. So if we must get it right, the president is on his own already. Produce another president from your church. Let's begin to work it out.
All right, thank you.
Let the family unit come together. When they are coming, there was a time in this country where you have extended family coming to spend holiday with you, and you're going to spend holiday with them. I don't think that kind of structure will still have it.
You know why? It's a change in
you know why? You know why I'm not having it again? Everybody wants to be the big boy in the family. So if you don't have, they are not going to be with you.
All right. All right.
So let's bring unity, value system.
All right.
Let's
thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I think my last words on this.
You've been having a last one all the time
on the topic. Let me quickly paint a scenario.
Yes.
I had an experience when I traveled out of this country in 2017 to be very precise. I went to lodge into a hotel. My luggage. I was expecting the hotel attendants to help me drag the luggage. He said no, that I must drag the luggage myself. Let me tell you something, Winston. Then till now, you don't help me with my luggage. Even as I am now, when I'm going to my office, I handle my bag. Even what times they say, I said no, I handle it myself. Yeah. That is an experience. How many of us will travel out of this country and come up? Anytime I travel, I must come up with one or two experiences that it will not be part and parcel of me. See, we must jettison this quest for immediate gratification. Every true success is long term. Not I want to plant today, I want to reap it today.
Tomorrow.
That's where we find ourselves today.
All right.
The mothers and fathers, they must go back to the drawing board. A situation where mothers will tell the daughter, don't you see your mate? You buy this, coming home with a phone of over $500,000.
They are more farmers.
And you don't question that daughter.
All right.
And tomorrow you'll be going to church and pray, the faithful husband.
Yes.
Oh Lord Jesus Christ, help us.
We'll see. If you want me to take my last throw
Yes,
on this
yes.
we are living now,
Yes.
I want to say here that every member of government came from a home.
Yes.
And every home have a role to play in who becomes the next. Today we know who is the minister. We know who is the president. We don't know who will become tomorrow. It's among the families.
True.
So we must sit back as families and ask ourselves, what role have we played in the destruction of Nigeria? And what do we do to bring it back to the country?
Thank you.
Because that is the foundation of every society.
Thank you so much,
God bless
gentlemen.
Nigeria, and God bless our future, because our future is great.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Well, this is the first round of discussion. Nigeria at C3, they all are just aligned. They are saying it, but with different tone of emotion. You can see the color of emotions, but the same issue. And of course, they agree to the fact that it must begin with good governance. And for us to have good governance, we have to start from the family. Because it's a family that produces the governors, the presidents, House of Rep members, you just name it. They are the one that produces these people, this person that eventually rule us. And don't forget, families also, after doing their part, they push up to the religious organization. We have traditional institution, the church, the mosque, you just name it. Even sometimes the atheists also, they have families. Yes. So what are you saying? It is all about family. So now just in three, if we really want to get it right, we have to start from the smallest, minutest unit. Though is the greatest and the strongest of all, which is the family. How is your family being operated? They've given us enough examples. I don't want to go into that. Think about it. Nigeria is our home. Whatever leadership we want, whatever followership we want, whatever government we want to attain, we all come from families. Make sure your family is trained the right direction, perspective, you just name it. Definitely Nigeria will get better.